I've been bullied since almost the first day that I started for the United States Postal Service. And as the years went by, it progressively got worse. So what I'm dealing with now is retaliation and bullying, all sorts of things. And I am being teamed up on. The first incident was horrifying because I've never experienced this before. It was my boss yelling at me in front of all of my coworkers, belittling me and telling me how awful of a carrier I was, telling me that why can't I go fast enough, what my problem was, that she didn't think I was cut for this job. And this was within the first week. My current state of mind is I'm scared. Walking through those doors is very hard for me, full of anxiety, never knowing what to expect, what each new day will bring as far as the problems I've been enduring. I was involved in an incident over the summer, and what it came down to was the postal inspector should have been called that day, and they never arrived. And it is the protocol to call them and do an investigation. And he told me 3 different dates that he had talked with them, saying that they would be in town, but then he wasn't understanding why they were not showing up. He proceeds to tell me that the postal inspectors were not in our jurisdiction, which that is definitely not true. So from there, moving forward, I knew that he would be lying to me to cover up this incident, and that it is exactly what he did.
Can you briefly say what the incident is?
I had a man brandish a gun on me, and because he threatened me that I was stealing his mail. And this intimidation tactic that he was using went on for 3 days. And on the 3rd day, is like I said, when he accused me of stealing his mail, I tried to diffuse the issue. And unfortunately, I was unable to. So that's where kind of all this started, was on July 29th of last year. After the 3rd day of him standing outside and watching every move that I made, yes, I was walking to my vehicle, and I reported the incident to my supervisor, and I said that this gentleman had started an altercation with me, and I just wanted to let her know that in case something were to happen, that you have it documented. And in the meantime, when I was on the phone with her, he walked up behind me and startled me. And I asked him several times to walk back to his home, and he refused to do so. And my supervisor had heard the conversation. I finally got him to turn back around and go to his home. And in the meantime, he called my name, and he said, "Hey, you, listen, I want to show you something." And he lifted his shirt up, and I noticed that there was a pistol in his waistband. And he said that he wanted me to remember that that is how he protects himself, and don't ever forget it. And I still had the supervisor on the phone, and she said to immediately get out of there, that she was going to call 911. And that is what she did, and I left the scene immediately.
So, normally in a process like that, an incident like this, one would expect to have full support of your fellow carriers, your management, your supervisors, everything. That's how it happened, right?
I had no support at all. I contacted the necessary people, which would have been my union president, my supervisor, my postmaster, and I left it up to them to do the necessary steps after an incident like this has happened. And nobody did anything. In fact, I delivered my route the rest of the day.
How are your local union rep and your union president handling this particular issue?
Like it never happened. I was told that they would not file a grievance until I produced the police report and to show proof that this really happened the way that it did. And lo and behold, the police report stated the same thing, or his statement was identical to mine almost, except he said that he was only joking in the matter. So when that happened, they realized, hey, she didn't make this story up. So this is when my district union got involved, where then I was pulled off my route entirely on that side of the street where he lived, and then I did another part of a different route to be entirely away from him. But no, I would make phone calls saying that he was driving by. I was making phone calls because there's other instances that were happening, and not one phone call back. Not, hey, how you doing? Are you okay out there? And then ultimately it got so bad where my doctor pulled me out of work. He pulled me out of work. Give me a minute here. My mental health, this is really hard. My mental health started deteriorating rather quickly. My anxiety, my depression escalated from this particular incident. I had no support whatsoever, and the two people that I depended on failed me. And I was at home left alone trying to figure out how I'm going to do this by myself. So I started seeing my doctor on a regular basis, and I went on a downward spiral. So I was pulled out of work, mid-September, and the incident happened the end of July. And my doctor did not want me going back to work, obviously, because not only was I dealing with this particular incident, I was also being discriminated against and retaliated and bullying by my supervisors. So that in itself, too, was something I was dealing with because I didn't understand what I did wrong. And this has been ongoing for 7 years. I have been treated very poorly. And it was probably the end of October, I felt that I needed to go back and do my job. I needed to face my fears. And nobody was returning my phone call. And when I mean nobody, I meant the union president and my postmaster. Emails and phone calls were never returned. And It took until December 8th for me to actually start working again. So I sat at home because I had no other choice. One morning, I woke up and I asked myself if this was even worth it, because I couldn't handle any of it anymore. I was severely depressed, and I dropped my son off. I have a young son. I'm a single mother too. And when I came home, I pulled in the garage, and that was it. I wasn't going to live this life anymore. So I started my car and had my garage door halfway down. And I was going to die that day. That was my plan. And then my phone rang, and it was my godsend, who literally saved my life. What goes on within the Postal Service is absolutely unacceptable. How some people get treated. It's against our contract, it's against our civil rights. I have a union that's supposed to be helping me. They never have. And things need to change, and that's why I'm here today. Yes, I do. In fact, I have an email actually that's dated back to June of 2016. He would be the national business agent of the union. And he says, and I quote, "The important thing to remember about the Postal Service is that they really don't care about you. They want the job done, and that's it. If you get hurt, they don't care. If you violate a rule that they don't see and you get done on time, they don't care. They chase numbers, and that is always what they've done. No one, however, should be yelled at or intimidated. We do have rules and agreements that cover these issues." I have emails, I have phone calls, I have text messages to prove all this. Every day I worry about what's going to happen next. Am I going to be able to get my back pay from 3 years ago? Am I going to be treated fairly today? They only know one side of the story, and all I'm trying to do is better myself, better my mental health. I want to enjoy my job again. But where it stands right now, I'm an army of one. And I'll continue to fight until these matters are resolved. And it's not just in my post office, it's everywhere. We need help. I have reached out, yes, to so many people. The NLRB. I have reached out to my senator. I currently have 2 EEOs for discrimination, retaliation, harassment. But every avenue I take, I feel like I get deflected for some reason. The NLRB found no merit in my case. I didn't have any representation. So how could that not hold merit? Because that's the job of the union, is to take care of their people, take care of their members, and they didn't take care of me. It's just like they're all intertwined together because they just want it to go away or want me to go away, and I'm not going to go away. My story needs to be told.